All right, joining us today on another wrestling podcast is the voice of a generation. His commentary and contributions to the wrestling business are legendary. We are extremely honored to welcome back WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross. Jim, thanks so much for speaking with us today. You're extremely busy, and we have lots to cover, including your partnership with FITE TV. So let's get right into it. Last time we spoke with you, you were working on your book. Can you give us any updates about your book?
Still working on it. It's come along very well. We sent about, I think, 6 sample chapters to our literary agent in New York City. So he's beginning to get in the process of shopping very seriously. So, and I'm more focused on the writing, obviously, than the business side of it. So it's come along well. We seem to be. I think we've tapped into something real good, and I'm I'm happy with where we are. We're just not going to rush the process to get a book out by Christmas, so we can make an extra $1 or $2. I want the book to be perfect in our view, as perfect as it can get before we turn it loose. So it's a work in progress, but it's a positive work in progress.
We really enjoy your writing style on your blog. Do you feel that writing is something that comes easily to you?
Yeah, I think so. I enjoy it. I think, like anything in life, the things that we really enjoy sometimes do come easier to us, for us than maybe for other folks. But I enjoy it. It's great freedom of expression. I get to exercise my creativity somewhat, and so I enjoy it. That's why I'm so, I guess, persnickety, if that's a good word, for this book. I want it to be, I have high expectations for it to be a great read, and we don't want to settle. So we're really painstakingly writing, and I like what we're doing.
Sure. Now, so speaking of your historic career, you have stated that you were a huge fan growing up. What was it that first drew you to professional wrestling, and what about wrestling that still makes you love it today?
Well, the first big angle I remember seeing was the Kentuckians and the Assassins. The Assassins were named after the unfortunate Kennedy traumatic experience in Dallas, where President Kennedy got shot, assassinated. That's a little trivia, worthless trivia, I might add. And the Kentuckians, Jake Roberts' dad, Grizzly Smith, and Luke Brown were the big Kentucky guys. And that was an angle that was very, very real, very viable. Grizzly Smith got hard weight on TV, and it was very disturbing for that point in time in the early 60s. So that was really the most memorable thing. The most memorable athlete from that generation was Dan Hodge, because he was the NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion. He was our homegrown, two-time Olympian, Golden Gloves boxing champion. The first wrestler on the cover of Sports Illustrated was Dan Hodge in April 1st, 1957. So he was our big star in our territory and was the hero. So I've been a fan. I don't know what draws me to it. I don't know if you can even describe it. I don't know. I like the good versus evil. I like the athleticism. I like the showbiz when it's not overdone. I like drama. I like the episodic version of the way that people produce TV when it's done right. So there's a lot of things about the business I like. There's a whole lot more things about the business that I like than I don't like.
In the past couple of months, a lot has gone on in the world of professional wrestling. One of those was the debut of AJ Styles. Now, as someone who has been entrenched in the business on almost every level, were you surprised by his WWE debut at the Royal Rumble?
A little bit at the Rumble, but not surprised. I knew he had aspirations to go to WWE. I had him on my podcast back in the day, last year, and we discussed that casually. I think anybody that's honest, that's in the wrestling business, will tell you that many of their eventual goal is to be in WWE because it's got the largest footprint and and you have the biggest opportunity to make the most money and maximize your earning potential in a business where the careers are sometimes short. So I wasn't surprised that he signed. I was a little surprised that he debuted at the Royal Rumble, but I will say pleasantly surprised because I thought it was a very good introduction for AJ and WWE and their fan base.
All right. Now, AJ was a mainstay for New Japan, which you're doing commentary for now. What's your experience like with New Japan, and what can the fans expect from you on this venture?
Well, I've been aware of New Japan since they went in business in '72. I got the business in '74, and a lot of the guys in the territory that I broke in were toured with New Japan. So New Japan has been on the radar for us in the wrestling business for years. I called Wrestle Kingdom 9 last January in 2015. Enjoyed it thoroughly. Really had no desire to get back into a weekly pro wrestling rotation, the travel, and all that stuff. Turned down a lot of offers from different companies. Two things about that. One, I wanted travel that was more manageable, and two, I wanted to be able to associate with a product that I personally endorsed, I liked. Mm-hmm. I felt like if I liked the product and had emotional investment in it, I would do a better job. So I'm very excited about I'm working with Josh Barnett, who's outstanding. The folks at Access TV, Mark Cuban's company, have been more than wonderful. I had a wonderful week out there last week, 2 days. We've watched over 6 shows. Our first show airs, debuts on Friday night, March 4th, the 4th of March, and I had a great time. Get back in the audio booth, something I've done over the years a lot. I like the presentation. I think it fits my skill set compatibly. So it's a real good situation for me. The travel's not abrasive. It's 8 or so trips to L.A. a year. Go out there, stay a couple of days, enjoy the Southern California weather, and knock out. We did 3 shows a day, so it gives you a little time to exhale. Mm-hmm. And I like the schedule. I love the product, and I really am positive about working with Access TV. They're a great crew, and I had never been on day one on the job made to feel more welcome than Access TV made me feel. So I think it's going to be a win-win all the way around, and hopefully my work will be well received by the fans, and they give us a shot.
Personally, what is the hardest part about commentating?
The hardest part about being a New Japan commentator is being able to efficiently identify all the talents and then being able to pronounce their names correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't really have any issues with the holds. Even though holds are given, the basic moves are given new. It's like Tanahashi's finish is a frog splash. Mm. But he doesn't call it frog splash. So I try to call all the names by the names that the athletes have named their holds, their finish maneuvers. Mm. But I'll be honest with you, there are times when I don't use those names. I use the original names.
Sure.
Some New Japan purists are probably not going to like that. That's their prerogative. But I think that, talent recognition, getting used to pace, stylistically. But it's basically, if you pay attention and you watch your monitor and you describe what you're seeing, mm-hmm. and not wander off into a area where you're hearing audio that doesn't match the video. When that occurs, the opportunity for a disconnect with a viewer is very prominent.
Sure.
So we try not to do that. We try to stay with the matches, and all of our commentary, even the banter, was match-related. So I think that'll be a significant difference in the way a lot of people broadcast pro wrestling in America.
All right. Now, Jim, you are highly regarded as the voice of pro wrestling, but would you say you're your own worst critic?
Yeah, probably. I haven't really. I'm hard to please with my own work, and there's dozens and dozens of hours of product that fans see on the WWE Network of my work in Atlanta and my work even before that, Mid-South, UWF. I've never watched. Back in the day, we didn't have everything where you could, there wasn't the technology wasn't as advanced as it is now to make things easy. You had to get a tape and get it dubbed and take it home, put it in your VCR. It was just it was a lot more, extensive to watch your work. And I watched some of it, and I cringe because I thought I could do better. I've always thought I could do better, and always pushed to do better. So even though I'm very excited about New Japan, and I'm really happy when Josh Barnett and I left L.A., left the studio of Access there at L.A. Live, I was very, very happy with what we did. Mm-hmm. I will promise you that I will listen to that work, and I will find things that I did wrong or things I should improve upon. And I probably will have that same MO until I hang it up for good, which is no time soon. So, sure. Yeah, I'm a tough critic of myself. And sometimes on others, which I try to back off of that a little bit because I'm not big on, I think sometimes when you're an announcer and you critique other announcers, it's very, very easy for a younger demographic to think that the old guy is just being, bitter, jealous, whatever. And God knows I'm not bitter, and I certainly am not jealous. Mm-hmm. I like my body of work in total. But I think we all can get better at whatever we do, and that's just the way I approach my job, no matter what job it is. Sure. If I'm doing boxing, if I'm doing wrestling, if I'm doing MMA, there's always a way to get better.
Sure. Now, we mentioned earlier that you've been extremely busy as of late. You're currently the face of FITE TV. It's an app which can be found on Apple and Android. Can you explain your involvement with FITE and how it will revolutionize the way fans get professional sports content in the future?
Well, it's an app that I used before I invested. I used it. I have my friends that are more technologically sound than I to try it. I got feedback from a lot of my buddies that are very critical, and I enjoyed the app personally. I downloaded it for free, which everybody can do. Mm-hmm. I went on the app. I took a little self-induced tour, saw all the things that they do, all the programming that they provide, and I learned that if you have Wi-Fi availability and you have a smart TV, you can play anything on their app on your smart TV. I love that because it has pro wrestling on it. It's got MMA on it. We're going to work with a lot of different wrestling promotions. I think it's going to be really wonderful that the FITE TV is going to be able to provide a platform for small wrestling organizations, small MMA organizations, regional fights, because in all honesty, the next great stars in all those entities, whether it be pro wrestling, boxing, or MMA, are going to start somewhere. They're going to be the unknown guy. They're going to be somebody discovered this guy. Mm-hmm. And we're giving you the opportunity to see all these new, fresh talents early in their career. So if you got Wi-Fi and you got a smart TV, you're in. If you're at a hotel somewhere and you got Wi-Fi, you can watch the fights on your iPad or your phone if you don't have a smart TV in your room, which is somewhat unlikely. But not impossible. So that's what I like about it. You can watch what you want, when you want. A lot of it's free. Some of it's pay-per-view. And I like the fact that the pay-per-views are going to support these smaller organizations so that their fighters, their wrestlers, their boxers can live their dream. And I think that's important for all of us to be able to live our dreams. And, I'm living mine still at this stage of the game. There's a lot of things I haven't done that I'm going to try to do.
I think it's revolutionizing the way fans will get sports as they do today. Everything's on the internet, everything's on an app, everything's on a network kind of a thing nowadays. And what better place to have all this sport content in one place? So it's definitely worth the download, everybody.
I believe that the way we're going to watch a lot of our sports as time goes on, especially special sports like pro wrestling or MMA or boxing, is going to be digitally. And I think it's the wave of the future without question. And all people got to do, they can check it out. The great thing, here's what I encourage. I'm not going to make any money on downloading. So the download doesn't have a ulterior motive. Other than, I think that you download it for free and you check the FITE app, you will find that it has things on it, features and benefits that you as a TV viewer and a combat sports fan will enjoy. So that's the case I make for it. I have liked it a great deal. It's simple to navigate. It opens up the world to a lot of different programming. It's going to allow a lot of wrestlers, pro wrestlers, for example, to be noticed better. I would think that the WWE talent relations people will be avid users of our FITE app, because they're going to be able to see athletes in all kinds of combat sports, all kinds of in-ring activity, that they may see some young kid that they fall in love with and say, well, that kid's got a great look, he's a good athlete or whatever. And they're going to discover some talent on this thing. No different than Dana White and the UFC or Scott Coker and Bellator. They're looking for new stars. Any promotion that does it daily, cultivate new talent to bring to their fan base, is making a major error. And I don't think that UFC or Bellator are known for making their major mistakes. And certainly WWE is compelled at this point in time to get young and to get athletic and not be so dependent on size, but more dependent on quality. And I think that's kind of where I see the business going, is provide the fans quality and don't worry about how tall or how big somebody's arms are. As long as they look like an athlete and they're in great shape and they can perform in an athletic-based environment, I think you're good.
Definitely.
Now, you've literally had your hand in commentating a lot of professional sports. Is there any sport out there that you really haven't gotten to call that you'd like to?
The only thing that I'd like to do football at some point in time. I think I will at some juncture. Maybe a one-off, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'd like to get back. My goal is to get back into boxing. I did the boxing event for Fox a year or so ago. Got good reviews. I was doing a fight through Fox for Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya's company. Then Oscar's company and Fox parted ways, so that kind of put a damper on that particular deal. But we're working on some boxing opportunities right now that I'm thinking maybe as early as this week, maybe finalized so that we can talk about it. But boxing is something I'm very interested in doing. I love to be at ringside. Boxing, I can do. I think I can do this offer that I have right now on the table is to do a primetime boxing event monthly on cable, and so we're exploring that, and we get all the I's dotted and T's crossed. I'll be back on TV on a monthly basis, on a national basis, and doing some boxing. So I hope that bears fruit, and we'll know in the next few days. Should know this week, actually.
Another hot button issue in 2015 were the injuries that plague professional wrestling. Do you feel that there's a certain reason more wrestlers are being injured, and is there any way to fix that injury problem?
Well, I have my opinion is that the reason we're seeing all these injuries is talents are taking too many risks unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. They're putting their bodies on the line in very high risk, low reward scenarios. So I think that less is more. I'm not advocating for somebody that's rolling their eyes or hit that stop button that everybody go back to world tights and lay in a headlock for 20 minutes. I'm saying be intelligent, tell a story, isolate a body part, utilize legitimate wrestling holds in pro wrestling. But when you're solely dependent on your aerial skills, which are oftentimes utilized as stopgaps, shortcuts, being lazy. I think that as long as guys have that philosophy and they don't have the in-ring skills that they wish they had, so they disguise them by doing a lot of flying stuff and taking an inordinate amount of high-risk moves, so you crash and burn a lot, night after night or tour after tour, you're going to have injuries because the body's just not made for that sort of treatment. So I think that if talents gets back to basic fundamental wrestling, telling great stories, sprinkling in the high-flying stuff, the crash and burn, it'll mean more. But when sometimes you see so much of it I got home Monday night from recording my podcast, and I got to see about an hour and change of Raw. Now, I always tape this. It's always on my DVR. But I got home in time to watch the last hour live, and the things I noticed is that in 2 consecutive matches, they set up these choreographed spots where the adversaries were standing on the outside, and the one guy did his plancha or a tope with his suicide dive over the top. They were identical moves, and they were 2 back-to-back matches. I think that's a lack of attention to detail. I think it's taking unnecessary shortcuts, and quite frankly, it's unimaginative and it's a little bit lazy, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I like the flying, I like the aerial, but I like it in. Don't desynthesize me. Don't make me think that. Oh yeah, I just saw that. Because it's like the old deal of hardcore wrestling. Mm-hmm. You hit somebody with a chair this week, and you want to use the chair next time on TV. Well, what's going to be different?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll hit him twice. Okay, so there's where we are. And we went to a table last week. Now we'll stack them. We'll do 2, and we'll get to where? How many? 4, 3, 6? I just think that sometimes the injuries are a byproduct of the style that a lot of the younger guys are using, who think that they just die for that. This is awesome, all that. I think they're working sometimes for the pop and not working to get over, or especially it works that way in heels. Heels in today's market, by and large, had rather be cool and be character baby faces in essence than be heels that have villain angst. So they're working for the spot, they're working for the pop, and not working for the heat. And I think sometimes these offensive moves that guys do are working for the pop and the chant, and not working for the betterment of the match to tell that story. Because you got to keep topping yourself, and the more you keep trying to top yourself, the more you're putting your body at risk. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of guys with shoulder injuries and all kinds of things that weren't that prevalent back in the day.
Sure.
And certainly we know what happens to guys' necks and their head and concussions. And you'd think somewhere along the way that the trend will reverse. Mm-hmm. And the mat wrestling. I did a match that had Kushida versus Kyle O'Reilly. It was the best of the Super Juniors tournament. And the match was one match was a whole hour. Huh. And it was so it was Super Juniors. And I didn't sneak peek it in the whole 9 yards. I saw it in its entirety the one time. That's when I did it. Mm-hmm. But the guys were mat wrestling, and it was believable. Mm-hmm. It was realistic and it was logical. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't a spot fest. There were great spots in it. Don't get me wrong, but they were sprinkled in at the right time, and so it was a great balance. And then I had some matches on the New Japan show that was a spot fest in general. A lot of the tag matches in New Japan on the smaller weights, it ends up being nothing but a spot fest. Mm-hmm. There's no story. There's no, what is the basis of the story? What is the rhyme here? What are we really trying to sell? And you're really trying to sell time and do your 10 or 15 minutes, get all your stuff in, and then call it a day. So it doesn't leave you with anything. Which of the Hurricane Ranas should I remember? Which of the dives over the top should I remember? Which of the Hurricane Ranas should I remember? The first one, the third one, the second? I don't know. So that's where we are. I just think that injuries are a byproduct of how the guys work, and I think that somewhere along the way, cooler heads are going to prevail, smarter workers are going to get more involved, and they're going to understand how to tell a compelling story without putting their body in too many risks. Mm-hmm.
Now, real quick, too, no injury was more talked about, especially as of late, than Daniel Bryan. What were your thoughts briefly on his retirement and shedding light onto his personal struggles with his injuries?
Well, I wrote a story for Fox Sports that got a lot of play and a lot of great feedback, foxsports.com. Daniel Bryan is a byproduct of what we just got through talking about. He put his body through an amazing amount of risk. He went above and beyond, trying to do more and more and more for the audience, and we see the results. At 34, he's done. And he won't be the first one that's prematurely out of the business because of injury issues. And I hope that guys can understand where the journey that this great athlete has been on, and a wonderful ambassador to pro wrestling, and a hell of a human being. But he did so much; he went above and beyond, and it ended up biting him in the keister. So I'm just happy that he's wrestling. He was wrestling in this generation and for WWE, because what other company in the world would provide the kind of medical care that WWE has provided Daniel Bryan? He's seen specialist after specialist, and those are not cheap visits. That's a lot of money that the company is more than happy to invest in the health and the welfare of their athlete. So, because I know from my days starting in the business in the 70s, all the way through the 80s and the 90s, I know what would have happened in a previous generation. He'd gotten an attaboy, he'd have felt better, and he'd gone right back in the ring. And then you know what would happen there. So he's lucky it happened in this generation. He's lucky it happened on WWE's watch, and he is he's a most valuable player. He's the kind of guy you can't, any company, whether it's WWE or whomever, IBM, Coca-Cola, JR's Barbecue, it doesn't matter. Whoever, you can't get too many Daniel Bryans on your team. So I'm sure that WWE will find plenty for Daniel Bryan to do. He's a great role model. He should be a wonderful mentor, coach, PR guy, might even be a color analyst. Who knows? So I'm happy that he has been able to exit, hopefully with no more collateral damage, and that he's going to be able to live a very viable and productive life that's going to be, there's not going to have as many problems health-wise. Beautiful wife, and he's still kind of a newlywed. I know they want to have a family. I think it's great. And like I said, I'm not sad for him. It's unfortunate, but I'm happy that he, as I said, it was now and it was a WWE, and I think he's just actually beginning the second phase of his career. And knowing him, it should be just as eventful and momentous as his wrestling career was.
Sure. Jim, we know you're a busy guy. We got just two more questions for you. We're on the road to WrestleMania right now. With all these injuries, do you think it's going to affect the show somehow, or is this the time for some of these guys to step it up a notch to be put on this grand stage?
I think it's WrestleMania. I think that it's in WrestleMania in a castle known as AT&T Stadium. It's in a venue that even a lot of people in Texas haven't been able to get in to see. The events that go into there tickets are hard to come by and very expensive. So I think that the venue is a great drawing card. I think the fact that you're in an American airline hub where you can fly in from virtually any city in the world to DFW, the fact that it's Dallas Love Field is the hub for Southwest Airlines. So you have a city that's extremely accessible by air. It's extremely accessible by car, where it's located in the center of the country. I think they'll do 100,000 plus. I'm not worried about the card. I think people fixate over that too much. I think you get the card set. You give me 3 or 4 weeks of good build to the final card. I believe that'll be enough. I think we live in a generation where I need it now. My attention span is short. I think if you get a card booked so far out, I think sometimes it works to your detriment that people in today's world get tired of hearing about it. It's like I made a comment about who I thought the Undertaker should wrestle, and I made a comment that I thought that it would be a good pairing for him because of the odds against him would be Undertaker versus Luke Harper. Because the first thing, Harper is a hell of a worker, and he's big, and he and Undertaker I think would have great chemistry, and then he's also got the odd man advantage because he's got backup. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that might be good. So then I say that, I think on my podcast, and I get the tweets from guys saying, well, did you not know that Undertaker wrestled Harper in November? And I'm thinking, okay, we're talking November. I'm talking April. So you're telling me that based on today's value, today's philosophy, that somebody wrestling Undertaker in November, it would be not good if they came back and wrestled him with a reason in April. So that threw me off a little bit. So, I think that it's going to be a success. I think the venue is amazing. The logistics are great. And I don't know what the card's going to be either. But, I can tell you from broadcasting a lot of WrestleManias, I was more excited about WrestleMania than any match we ever called. Mm-hmm. Now, there were a lot of great matches. So I'm not discounting any of that. I got to call all three of the Austin Rock matches from 15, 17, and 19. I got to call Shawn Michaels, Undertaker 25. I got to Ric Flair's last match, WrestleMania. But WrestleMania itself is what flips the switch for me, and I think it does for a lot of fans. My three shows down there are doing amazingly well. Mm-hmm. They're doing great. And for the House of Blues, I got one on Saturday, April 2nd, and two of them, as a matter of fact, one before and one after the Hall of Fame, 8 minutes away at the House of Blues. And then I got one after Raw on Monday night. And all are selling equally well. They're all well on the way to selling out, and the venue's about 1,000 people. So I want to have my three biggest crowds I've ever done at my one-man shows. And it has nothing to do with the card at WrestleMania. There's that many people coming in that, luckily for me, want to come see my show, which your listeners can do at Ticketmaster.com. So it's a cool thing. The whole celebration is good. I think it'll be great. I'm not worried about the card, and I think that you're not going to have any worries about guys having their working shoes on and being properly motivated. Let's be honest about it. They're going to be as in awe, the talent. They're going to be as in awe of this facility because most of them are not going to see it until Sunday. So they go in there and see it, all the staging and the set and all the stuff. It's really, I don't care who you are, how many of these you've done, it increases your pulse. It's good.
Sure.
I think we're going to be fine, quite frankly.
In today's world, it seems that professional wrestling is becoming mainstream again, with coverage by ESPN, Rolling Stone, and many more. What do you think caused this sudden change in the way professional wrestling is looked upon by the general public?
I think I know a lot of things that I can tell you, this might make some sense, I don't know. A lot of the decision makers in programming grew up as wrestling fans. A lot of guys that I'm working for now, whether it be at Access or hopefully my boxing gig, we hope to get that done, as I mentioned. But a lot of them grew up in that Attitude Era. They grew up in the heyday of WWE with all the star power, You look at one class that we recruited under my watch there. One class had Lesnar, Cena, Batista, Orton, and Shelton Benjamin in it. That's a pretty good class. And notwithstanding the fact we signed Rock and Kurt Angle and all these guys. So a lot of these executives, the decision makers, grew up in that generation. And I find that they're very easy to work with. They have a different outlook on wrestling. They understand it's entertainment, but it's entertainment that they embrace. So I think there's something to be said for that. And the other thing about doing is live, like Raw, or live to tape, is something that a lot of programmers like. Live television is hard to beat, no matter what your product is. So I don't know. I think it's good programming if it's properly produced. It's very episodic. It should be, and as long as you don't put wrestlers and athletes in an environment that they have to become actors and recite lines from memory, I think that you can really create some great product. If you put the wrestlers, the athletes, the performers in their strengths and not in a environment that they maybe not be best suited for. So I'm happy that the business is doing well. It's served me great for 40 years. I'm back, my toes back in the water. I'm very blessed to have another shot at doing exactly a great product on a wonderful network, and hopefully I can add some more work to that. And I may be doing some things on the FITE network with some people that want me to do some MMA or some boxing or whatever. There's going to be a lot of opportunities come up to co-promote in those type situations.
Definitely. Now, Jim, we covered a lot of ground today. Where can people find out more information about your upcoming shows, projects, T-shirts, and even barbecue sauce on your podcast? Let the fans know.
Well, the fans at North America can order my products at www.shop.com. They can order it in England, UK, Ireland, and Europe at americansoda.co.uk. It's at WWShop on Twitter, at American Soda on Twitter. So they get that. That's easy, online, shipped right to your home. If you live in the southeastern part of the United States and you're near an Ingles, I-N-G-L-E-S, market, they carry all of our products. That's over 200 stores in the southeastern part of the United States. They're headquartered in Asheville, North Carolina, by the way. So there's that. My website, JRSBARBQ, I write blogs. I answer Q&As from the fans. I'm on it pretty much every day, at least I try to be. And there's always information on my shows on that. But the shows, the only two shows I've got going forward because of my schedule being crazy is WrestleMania weekend. So right now it's April 2nd, Saturday of WrestleMania weekend, 2 shows, and the Monday night after Raw of WrestleMania weekend on all 3 of those shows at the Dallas House of Blues, and tickets at Ticketmaster.com. So, and I hope they follow me on Twitter at JRSBBQ.
Well, Jim, we really appreciate your time today. For all the listeners out there, make sure you download FITE.tv, the app. It's FITE. Download the app. Jim, thank you so much for talking to us about it today, and much more.
Okay, you bet. Anytime. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.